All right. You already know what's gonna happen today, ladies and gentlemen. It is the final day of October. Before we move into November and then December and then into a whole brand new year. This year feels like it just flew on by. But you already know what's about to happen. So let's go ahead and get started, shall we? Yo, peoples! Kyushu92 here, and welcome back to yet another One Piece Reflections. Today, we are going to be talking about the chapters that we got during the course of October. Ravi, good to see you as always. And we got a total of 3 chapters this month. Chapters 1128, 1129, and 1130. So let's just go ahead and get started with the chapters, shall we? Because they were quite good in fully introducing us into the Elbaf arc. So, the first chapter that we got in the month of October, let me go over to it, was called RPG. And this is when the crew is still standing after bursting outside of... No, not bursting outside of they're outside of the castle after beating up the, little cat, the little cat creature that can also turn into a lion. Hold on, let me get the session live here so I can see chat here as well. Kitty! Heyo! It is good to see you. So, Sanji and company and Luffy and everyone else, they're reeling, I wouldn't say reeling, but they're just dealing with the aftermath of beating up the cat the first time while they were outside. And them just wondering where exactly they are. So this chapter 1128, called RPG, has them all wondering what's going on. We hear them talking about more about what they did to the rabbit and the bees. Luffy, Zoro, and Sanji, they basically killed the rabbit and ate the rabbit. So as they get out of the castle, we find out that they're in this, what appears to be this big, vast, wide open space. Everyone's clothes have been changed. Usopp is, kind of a little bit excited for the fact that this could be the land of the giants, but, everything around them is kind of, in comparison, kind of regular sized for them, which is kind of odd. So Usopp goes, so here's what I think. In my view, these are Elbaf warrior clothes that we've been dressed in, but there's no way that Elbaf, the land of giants, would have clothes our size. And they're all commenting on the fact that every place looks like it's been completely built out of Legos. Lunar, good to see you. The whole place looks like it's just been completely built out of Legos. So they're still trying to wonder where they are. I think there were people in town. We got to ask around to get to the bottom of this. Look how huge it is. We'll never reach the sea at this rate. You're right, let's go into town. If others from the crew are here, it's probably not all of them. How can you tell? Ramen's not turning up on the me radar. And Sanji just showing just how this dude needs to chill around ladies, just sniffs the air, because apparently his nose is attuned to food and the scent of women, which is a very weird thing to say out loud when you think about it. I'm pretty sure a lot of women would not be around Sanji because Sanji is what I would call manga's biggest simp in existence. I don't think I've ever seen any person in the history of anime and manga that simps over women as much as Sanji. And like I brought this up before, it's so odd that this whole thing, because this is something trademark of not just Sanji, but Ichiji, Niji, and Yonji, his brothers. They all have this effect messing with them as well. Yet Judge doesn't show that same level of simp weakness when it comes to being around a whole bunch of women. He doesn't show that whatsoever. So it makes me wonder, is this genetic? Or did it skip a generation with Judge and just go to all 4 of his sons? So so being around Sanji as a lady, he'll white knight for you until the sun goes out. But he also needs to learn boundaries because no woman finds his antics attractive in any way. About the only person that has actually been attracted to Sanji and has actually liked Sanji is Pudding. And the culmination of their relationship during Whole Cake Island pretty much ended with her taking the memory of her kissing him before he left the island. So that's a genuine moment where a woman was actually into Sanji, and he doesn't even fully remember where it culminated in before he had to leave the island because everyone was trying to come after him. So, Sanji just being Sanji. And we see a view of this place where it shows all of the buildings, all made of Legos, and a very big tree in the distance. And when that happens, we have an individual roll up to Luffy and company, who appears to be their size, riding on top of a giant grasshopper. Now, we never get the name of this person, but he's riding in going like, sorry, I'm in a hurry, no time to sit around and talk, but I can tell you this. All of this vast land you see belongs to the sun god. Now, of course, those of us who have been following the story know that Luffy is the reincarnation of the sun god Nika, due to him eating the, model Nika devil fruit. So he's basically the sun god. So someone calling themselves the sun god is highly suspicious. And they're talking about, I serve the ruler of Big Stein Castle, Master Iscat, which is the name of the cat that can turn into a lion that they beat up earlier. Is there a person at the castle? No, it's a cat. Oh, sorry, I actually just... And that's when Luffy, because Luffy can't keep a secret to save his life. Even when Luffy was a child, he was incapable of keeping a secret to himself. And when he tried to lie after telling a secret, he would have the absolute worst poker face known to man. Every single time, he would have the absolute worst poker face that you could ever see. And here, and it did not help later in life, because here, he's just saying like, oh, I'm sorry, because he's just gonna straight up tell him like, sorry, I actually beat that cat up, like, not even thinking about the consequences of saying something like that out loud. But his mouth gets covered by Usopp. You might call this the land of gods. I should be leaving now. I'm sure the needle god Hedgehog is looking for its food. Nami's keeping her mouth closed because she just electrocuted it. I'm running a bit late to feed it because the ear god, a giant rabbit, was found burned to death near the town. And Luffy is still trying to talk, while everyone is off to the side whistling and pretending like they don't know what just happened, even though, like I said, they already killed the rabbit and they ate it before Luffy and company met up with Nami and Usopp. If you're hungry, you should go into town and get your fodder. And let me warn you, you must never venture in the other direction from the castle. Huh? Why not? The sun god's temple is there, guarded by vicious soldiers. None have ever approached the temple and returned alive to speak of it. And saying it specifically this way, Nami knows what's about to happen. Oh no, don't say it like that. As Luffy immediately goes running in the exact direction that dude just told him. And everyone, including Sanji, just yells and says, "Get back here!" Because Luffy is all like, "Adventure!" And he just goes running off in one direction. Hey man, thanks for all the advice. Oh, and sorry for everything, huh? Vicious soldiers, huh? And Zoro's already walking in one direction, hungry to take down more foes. Though the last foe he had to actually fight and bring down was King, and after that, the next big foe that he had to face off against was Ethan Baron. Nus Judo. Hold on, Steve, cover it up. They always sneak up on you. The last foe Zoro faced and hasn't beaten was actually Ethan Baron, because Ethan Baron is an incredibly powerful swordsman. I wonder how Ethan Baron stacks up against Mihawk. Because the chances are that Ethan Baron wields the very first Kotetsu. Or is it Kitetsu? No, not Kotetsu, Kitetsu. I'm thinking of Kotetsu from the Castlevania games. Kitetsu is the name of the cursed swords in One Piece. I wonder how truly strong he is. He's incredibly fast, able to cross an entire island in seconds. And he's incredibly powerful enough in his legs where he can jump up to the height of clouds and slice apart an entire, basically mini island of clouds in one go. I wonder how powerful he actually is. But while that's going on, the dude on the grasshopper is going like, huh? Rubble? And Luffy's going like, I smell adventure, vicious soldiers, gods. Luffy just sees the prospect of adventure and just immediately goes running in that fashion, in one direction. And Luffy's all the way in front. And when I was reacting to this, I thought that they had already caught up to Luffy, but Luffy is very difficult to really catch up to for basically everyone else. As soon as he takes off, he really doesn't slow down. Everyone else can get tired, but Luffy has that main character running energy, you know? So when he's running, he sees, huh? Someone's running this way. He's wearing Elbaf clothes too. Whatever, I'll just dodge and run past him. And when this individual and Luffy meet up, we find out that it is not another person. It is literally just a reflection of Luffy, because we find out that the area they're in is not some random far-off location in the world. It is literally an enclosure with reflective one-way mirrors all around. Luffy and his friends are in a gigantic cage, fashioned to look normal. And on the outside, we have Chopper, who's on the desk right next to this door, and the whole room outside of this enclosure looks to be the giant size that many of us were expecting. Oh, Gesundheit? Well, thank you, kitty. It is the size that we would normally expect a giant location to be. And Chopper's already on the outside, confirming that Chopper is here, meaning that Jinbei, Brook, Frankie, and Robin are the only ones who are still with the rest of the giants who are supposed to be making their way to Elbaf anyway. But Luffy and company, they got separated, and all of them got dropped here. So, going forward, Luffy's all, Chopper's all, I'd be so happy to see you guys! And they all meet up, they're hugging them. And they're wondering what's going on. So these are human-sized clothes in a giant's room? Are there supposed to be like dolls' clothing? And Luffy goes, it's all blocks. Yeah, that's what the kingdom was made of. When we roasted that rabbit, the nasty smell it made had to be from the synthetic resin burning along with it. Just look at that. The edges were mirrors that made the scenery seem to go on forever. Oh, I see. Oh, it's see-through. But from this side, it looks like glass. What is it? Some kind of magic mirror? And Sanji, being the very problematic man he is, goes, Nami, I called dibs on the next shift cleaning the women's cabin. And he does this with the distinct intent of replacing the mirrors in the girls' room with the one-way mirrors so he can look in on them. I told you, he was problematic. He was very he gonna cause issues. But Nami proceeds to kick him directly in the face, enough to draw blood, saying like, don't you dare try to install those. And Zoro goes, so basically, some giant with poor taste decided to build a kingdom of blocks and toss a bunch of humans and animals in it to see what happens.
Yeah, it's creepy, but does that mean we're already in Elbaf? A giant's house inside the land of giants?
And Luffy's all like, woo, we're here already? All right! But they really don't have much information to go on. So, they suddenly get surprised by a giant snake that just appears out of nowhere. And then we see giant rats all over and a giant raven over them. And then we have an individual, a giant person, starting to walk towards this very same room that Luffy and company are causing a ruckus in. And when that happens, this person opens up the door and finds their entire space pretty much just on fire. And all of his little animals getting beat up by Zoro and Luffy, who has already gone Gear 5 to, deal with them. And Luffy hits one of them with his Dawn Pistol. With his Dawn Pistol, he's capable of causing a person's body to deform from the punch, but it still does tremendous damage because it's also imbued with conquerors as well. It's just incredibly strong. So all of this giant creatures are being embodied. Then we get Iscat, the same cat that got burnt and electrocuted by them earlier. He runs up and he tries to, try and scare them and growls at them, but winds up getting beaten up. And they all start riding the cat around with a Chopper translating. It's saying, "I'll get you for this," and they all just start running through the enclosure, this small enclosure. Yeah, they all just start riding through this enclosure where apparently they picked up a map and only for them while they're being chased by this giant person going, "How dare you bring ruin upon my kingdom?" And he's chasing after this person is chasing after him. He's chasing after him while they're all riding on the cat. And and mind you, there's still other people sealed inside of this enclosure. They're still sealed inside of this enclosure, and they just see this giant going, "The sun god is in the divine fury." And while that's happening, this figure goes, "You shall not escape." And that's the end of chapter 1128. Luffy and company find out they're inside of this pen that can hold normal people. And the person who is apparently in charge of this pen, who created this pen, is now suddenly chasing after them. After Luffy and his friends basically wreck shop inside and outside of the enclosure. So that's where we leave at 1128. Onwards to 1129, because this is where things get interesting. So Chapter 1129, Live Dolls. And all the people who are inside the enclosure, bar the Straw Hat crew, are going, "Master Sun God, please quell your anger. Look over there, flames through the cracks in the sky. The kingdom is doomed. The world is ending." "You live dolls will play. You live dolls will pay for what you did to my temple. And to my pets, I mean my servants." Why is that guy so freaky?
God, he looks like a demon. Toad, look out for this slope.
So this is all made out of blocks, huh? And the cat is jumping all over the location. And Luffy's going all like, "Hey, if he put in all the work to build this, we gotta split without busting it up." And the cat, not really caring, is running through all of these buildings that this giant person has spent a lot of time on. "Wait, Iscat, why are you helping them?"
"Hitching a ride on this cat took us to the end of the world in no time."
Yo, Shonen Sensei! We are currently on chapters 1129 of all the chapters that we got in the month of October. But it's good to see you. I hope life has been treating you well, and I hope you have been enjoying your Halloween if you celebrated. So they're running, and Nami is all like, another thing is Nami takes the map that they were using to navigate, and she just throws it away.
"I told you, Luffy. Look at the schematics for this Hey!
Don't worry, I've memorized it.
Whoa!
Look over there, Luffy. You can see the mirror door from earlier.
Oh, you're right.
And on second look, the clouds are just cotton fluff hanging from the ceiling.
Showing that everything that's in this room is not real. It is man-made. Man-made fluffy clouds. The fact that none of the regular people in there could tell the difference just shows you how scary this place is. It might look huge to us, but to a giant, it's just a regular old room.
Exactly!
And because all the walls are mirrors, no wonder the scenery seems to go on forever.
So we'll reach the end in no time. We just have to keep going straight.
Showing that the enclosure pretty much takes up more than half of the room of this giant who's, proceeding over this entire area. That's how big the enclosure is. The room itself is big. Like, for example, it's way bigger than my room. But for this person, the whole enclosure itself takes up half of the room. More than half of the room. And Luffy and company are making their way towards the other side. I see. So you've seen the schematics and now you imagine you've figured out this world, have you? Yet this was originally a holding net for giants. And this person with a deer skull on their head just gets a big old net to try and catch them with. Is it just me, or is he talking a bit like a samurai? It was built to prevent giants from escaping. It matters not if you reach the wall, for you will never break out, you'll never break through it. There is only a dead end. And he tries to trap him in the net, which he does so momentarily, until Sanji and Zoro just cut straight through it, with Sanji appearing to use Ifrit Jamba, because, with Ifrit Jamba, he not only has flames, but also electricity that allows it to, affect a target in more ways than one. And they just burst out of the rope. They broke through the metal wire? No matter. The cruel and violent ear god awaits them ahead. And then we see the bones of the ear god after Luffy, Sanji, and Zoro killed and ate it. It was mysteriously burned to death earlier today. Gotta go, catch you guys later. Alright, Kitty, you do what you gotta do. We will see you in the next session. It was mysteriously burned to death earlier today. The sight was heartbreaking and more than a little ominous. Just before bizarre cracks appeared in the sky, it's an accursed day. They defeated it? Impossible. That was a vicious carnivorous rabbit. My glut bunny? We just found it like that. Death. Lovely. Wonderful. This too is how the world works. A story without a script, unfolded in my little walled garden. I underestimated them. They are most exciting after all. Now the world I created has developed its own evil and its own heroes. History is being written before my eyes. This is the charm of my little live dolls. The mini world that belongs only to me. And he just goes on this really big tirade. He really does see himself as the main character of this story. This might be our only chance. The way out is open to us. Let's flee while we can. Tell all the others. So these people have been trying to get out too. They've been trying to get out too. They may seem like they're like, oh, Sun God, please, we need your help. The ear god has fallen. We just found it like this. And they're secretly all like, this might be our only chance. No, we need to go. Stop speaking in that accent and let's get up out. Cletus, it's time to go. Sun God, they took down the Needle Gold as well. If you check out the castle, you'll see that they took down the Needle God. Go get your brother. It's time to go. Go get your brother. Get your brother. It's time to go. Get your mama. Get her out. Carry her. Get out. It's time to go. Oh, my apologies, Sun God. It appears that they've broken the mirror on the far side of the island. If you can maybe go ahead and check that. We don't know what's going on. Time to go. Yeah, they're all, because these people are trying to get out. They're not dumb. They're trying to get out. This is their chance, because they've been stuck who knows how long in this place. And he's just laughing, and this dude is just laughing over this whole deal. What's he laughing about? Now dance and struggle in my palm. Harudi may accept you, but I do not. So what is your move? Special attack? Green Star! Now showing that this individual knows Harudin. Skull Blast Grass! And Usopp breaks the mirror on the other side, showing a stone wall on the other.
No good. It only broke the mirror. That wall is really tough.
Okay, I got this one. Good. Yes, this pleases me. Helpless dolls fighting back against fate. Best story ever. Part of the world is despair and hopelessness, and part of history is defeat and disappointment. The tragic folly of the week, and yet so brave. A real tearjerker. I am so glad to have you in my collection. Ultra Rare Luffy, Ultra Rare Zoro, Ultra Rare Nami, Ultra Rare Usopp. Doesn't even say, oh wait, never, I was wrong.
Wait, how does he know who we are?
Ultra Rare Sanji, Ultra Rare Chopper. He's really going off. He's really going off here.
What does he mean?
What does he mean, ultra rare?
Time to bust open a hole. Mini Gear 4! Pretty much confirming our suspicions. Well, my suspicions. I know people thought that when Oda wrote Gear 4 in the chapter before this one, when Luffy was using one of his moves, we thought, no, that looks like he's just enlarging his arm. But this chapter pretty much confirms that Luffy has gained so much control over his power now that he's able, the same way he was able to do it with Gear 3rd, he is now able to selectively activate Gear 4 and any one of his limbs without the need to do so across his entire body. His arm basically changes into that of Kongun without his whole body having to go through that. And mind you, his fist gets extremely large as it, peels back behind Iscat while they're running.
Hey, Usopp, natural disasters aren't anyone's fault, right?
I mean, sure. Earthquakes, floods, lightning. You can't blame those on anybody.
Well, I think we've been through plenty of enough terror for one day. I'm sick of this guy.
I get it, but we don't want to anger the giants.
And then Sanji, white knighting as usual, goes,
I know how you feel, Nami. I feel that same rage towards this jerk. I just can't get the thought out of my mind of him changing your clothes. I won't rest until I crush him to bits with my foot.
You mustn't do that, Sanji. I wouldn't worry, though. He'll get his divine retribution.
And then we get a flashback as we see this individual without his whole sun god makeup and sun god getup that he has on going, Mugen, what have you brought me this time? And that same Raven we saw getting beat up by Luffy and company. I know I keep saying Luffy and company a whole lot, but Luffy and pals. He drops the Sunny in front of this giant, who turns out to be Road, the navigator of Harudine's new giant warrior pirates. The same individual that was working with Harudine with Buggy in his, Buggy special delivery service. That's who this person is. A member of Harudine's crew, who has suddenly decided to take the Straw Hats hostage and keep them imprisoned. But everyone who is on the Sunny, they get brought before Road as he goes, Wait, this is the Straw Hat crew. The giant pirates were sailing out to escort them back. Don't they realize what happened? They seem very deep asleep. Did they pass through the sleeping mists on the route to Egghead? And then we go back in time. We go back in time when Harudine was there with Road going, Are you insane? Not at all. When I heard that Harudine had cast aside his dignity and became his henchman, I was furious. Does that make me, a member of the new giant pirates, a henchman too? An almighty warrior of Elbaf, subservient to some tiny human? Has he no pride? Look at this tiny, frail figure. But Nami here, she's my Oshi. And when Nami looks like she's preparing to wake up, he puts them all back to sleep again. I need you to go back to sleep. And when you wake up again, and that's the end of the flashback. Finding out and learning that a member of Harudine's own crew has kidnapped part of the Straw Hat crew. This is not going to go over well with Harudine, considering the pledge Harudine, Cavendish, and pretty much every major name from Dressrosa pledged towards Luffy, which brought about the beginning of the Straw Hat Grand Fleet. So obviously, this is not going to go over well with Harudine. At all. I mean, it's not going to go over with the Straw Hats well at all, but this is definitely not going to go over well with Harudin, of all people.
You'll simply go missing to the rest of the world.
Yo, CDs, what is going on? And yo, Holster! We are currently on chapter, I want to say, getting near the end of chapter 1129, and then we'll move on to 1130. I'll say my final piece, and that'll do it for today's reflections. But in the present,
you'll simply go missing to the rest of the world. Instead, you'll be stuck in here with me, struggling to get free. I will not serve you. You will serve me.
I know it feels like I switched up my accents there at the end. My apologies.
I will not serve you. You will serve me.
Huh?
Are you ready, Zeus?
I'm positively crackling, dummy. I really want to use that voice for Zeus, because I think it'd be silly. Hey, what's going on, dummy? It's good to see you, dummy. And I have to do my jaw like that on purpose. I'm positively crackling, dummy.
What is that? I never made that.
And a big giant, much larger than Road, a big thundercloud is right above him, and he gets blasted by lightning. Mind you, he's still standing afterwards. And Luffy and everyone else is still getting closer to the wall, and that's when he uses Come Gun! And Luffy just punches straight through the wall, and when we get through the wall, all we see at the end of this chapter is Luffy going, Aha! And the next chapter will pretty much confirm what we're seeing. So, moving on to chapters 1130. And I gotta go all the way back to the beginning because Viz saves my place whenever I finish a chapter, and I was pretty much all the way at the end. Chapter 1130, The Accursed Prince. So here we cut back to Frankie, who's with the rest of the giants, Dory, Broggy, and the rest of the Straw Hat crew.
Listen up, warriors of Elbaf. This search is over! What? To make a long story short, we searched and we didn't find nothing. But we know they're alive. They're alive and well. So thanks for trying so hard to find them for us. It really warms my heart.
And then we get Robin going,
Yes, let's wait for them in Elbaf. We're all heading for the same place.
Then Jinbei,
Indeed. My shark neck work didn't turn up anything either. We're just grateful that you went to such lengths to search.
And then Brooke, Plus, we're out of food. No point to any of this if you all starve in the process. And then we get Broggy.
I see. Well, if their own crew says so, they're fine. That seals it. Steer us back to Elbaf, boys.
And then they all just start cheering.
Let's toast to our safe return. We're out of food and drink, Captain. Yeah!
Then we get back with Luffy as Luffy screams, It's huge! Look at this tree. How many thousands of years old is it? And they get outside, and we see that where we're at doesn't even scratch the surface of where we are in Elbaf. We're inside of a giant's castle that is already massive. And linked to this big giant castle that they're on the outside of, it links up to this another location that's in the distance. You know what's dawned on me? By all means, please, voice it. Voice it, Holster, by all means. Share with the class. I heard something outside. But there's this big giant rope bridge that's leading from this castle up into another location at a higher elevation. Are they all like this?
So big!
Is that a mountain?
It's freezing. Look how long this rope bridge is.
Dory and Broggy were away with Big Mom when the Big Mom situation happened. Yeah, they were away. Remember, Dory and Broggy weren't seen for 100 years. During those 100 years that they weren't seen at all, the Big Mom incident back in Elbaf was it had already happened. They've been gone for a long time. When Luffy and company ran across, it's nothing major, but I just realized that now. Oh yeah, they would have definitely came back to Elbaf if they knew what was going on with Big Mom. They would have immediately came back, but they were already busy being on Little Garden fighting with each other for the past century. They were gone for a full century. So during that time, they had no idea what was going on. But they would have came back if they realized, oh, no, we can't be having no children's rolling up here in our crib, wrecking stuff. And we lost one of our chiefs. No, put the fighting on hold. We going home. But no, they couldn't have known. They didn't know. They probably got explained everything that went down with Big Mom once they met up with the rest of their crew. But yeah, they were gone.
Wait a minute, it's so fast. I feel like I'm getting dizzy just looking at it.
And it shows someone walking up towards the castle. And it's the other members of the new giant warrior pirates. And the one is Gerd, the female giant pirate crew member that we've seen before. We've seen her when she was being introduced with Harudine and when company were leaving Buggy's delivery service. But she is also one of the giants that was present to recover the research books of Ohara after the Ohara incident went down. And right next to her is Goldberg, another giant who was present helping recover those books during the aftermath of Ohara as well. Harudine was there, Goldberg was there, and so was Gerd. They were all there. So these are people who were very knowledgeable about the events that transpired on Ohara after the fact because they were there to collect all that stuff under orders of Saul. That still gets me, though. They literally got told by Saul to go back to Ohara and recover all those books after everything went down. And you want to know something else? The fact that the Navy just said, you know what? This area is researching the Void Century. So raise it to the ground under orders of the new elders. Let's not go back, though, to said island to make sure that there were absolutely no survivors. Oh, the giant tree of Ohara, it fell down and it was burning. I think we did enough. Let's go. They didn't think a single moment to think like, well, we need to make sure that the entire place has been razed to the ground. You know, when you're in the world government and you got all this firepower, not a lot of people tend to be thorough when you think about it. They just think, send a buster call to the island, raise it to the ground, and then when you're done, just come back home. No one thinks about like, okay, let's confirm the kills. But no. So yeah, we get Gerd, who's the doctor of the new giant pirates, and then we get Goldberg, who's the cook of the new giant pirates. With Gerd going,
why did Harudine have to bring that weirdo onto the crew? Why did Harudine have to bring that weirdo onto the crew? Well, I hate him. Loki's not the shame of Elbaf. It's him.
Well, that's because he's a good navigator. Yeah. That's only going to make Rodo happier.
You saw it, didn't you, Piper? His crow was carrying us a little bird in its mouth.
And Piper is the name of Gerd's big old owl that she's just carrying with her.
Intruders have to be caught, of course, but Rodo creates intruders all on his own.
And I get massive... Am I the only one who gets Lucky Roo vibes from Goldberg? What is it about incredibly round people in One Piece that are either, you know, that tend to be very jovial? You know, barring Big Mom because she was just straight evil, but... A lot of people who have very round bodies, a lot of them seem to be massively enjoying life. Blackbeard, Goldberg, Lucky Roo. Who's another big-bodied person that we've seen in this series that just tends to be all smiles all the time whenever we see them? I want to say Dr. Hogback, but his body isn't overly round, even though he's a very round individual. Who's another very, very round person? Mach Vice comes to mind. I feel like it's a running gag in the series of One Piece where people who are incredibly round and very rotund in this series, a lot of times you see them smiling or just behaving jovially. All Goldberg is missing is a giant piece of meat to be constantly chewing on. At least we can see his eyes. If he had shades on or goggles on, he would literally be the giant version of Lucky Roo. I would not be surprised if Goldberg and Lucky Roo are friends, considering Shanks has frequented Elbaf quite often. I want to say pretty recently, so I'm pretty sure they're aware that Goldberg is aware of Shanks. And as well as Lucky Roo and everyone else. So I wouldn't be surprised if Goldberg and Lucky Roo are friends as well. But that's just me. That's just me assuming. But we get Goldberg and Gerd, and they're walking, and everyone is hiding from them. With Luffy being the idiot that he is, going, they seem nice, because Luffy's all like, I don't care what the present danger is. They look like people I can talk to. And just decides that, you know what, I'm just going to go run over there to these giants that we know nothing about, and I'm just going to introduce myself. Because I have that main character plot armor protecting me. Because I just assume everyone wants to talk whenever I just run over to them, with no sense of trying to be stealthy or trying to understand where they are, because the Straw Hat crew doesn't know what Elbaf life is like. They can only go off of what Dory and Broggy have told them. They have no idea. So Luffy, being that one person that says, like, I'm going to go say hi to him without any sort of preparation whatsoever. Luffy would. Fukudo is prettily rotund. But I wouldn't say he's jovial. Right, I completely forgot about Fukudo. But I wouldn't call him jovial, though. I definitely wouldn't call him jovial. No, he's not. He's round, but he's not happy round. But Usopp is going,
Did you hear that, people? They said the name Elbaf!
And we also find out that Jarl is still alive, one of the oldest living individuals in the world, aside from, I want to say, the elders, the Gorosei, and Im-sama themselves. We get the Chief Jarl is still very much alive. Still sad what happened to Jarl, though.
Did you hear that, people? They said the name Elbaf! We gotta be there! I didn't know there were giants so beautiful!
Hey you guys, we're...
Idiot.
Luffy didn't even know they're technically subordinates of his? No, they don't. He doesn't. Luffy doesn't really keep any knowledge in his head aside from people who give him food and his dream and his goal, not dream, but goal of being the king of the pirates. And also who his friends are. Other than that, Luffy really doesn't, friends and brothers are. Other than that, Luffy really doesn't retain too much mentally. There's a reason why Oda has never given us a moment in the entire series where Luffy has an inner monologue with himself. Because Luffy doesn't really stop to think. He just does. He just goes on instinct. So for him, he's not even paying attention to anything that's happened to him in the past that could, be construed as important knowledge to remember for this point in time. You would think that Luffy would be like, hey, do you know Harudin? Big giant dude from Dressrosa. Oh, you know him? Cool. He's a subordinate of mine. I'm Straw Hat Luffy. But because Luffy doesn't even see them as subordinates, as a person who wants to be the most free, he doesn't see the point of having people serve under him because he sees that as a constraint. So that sort of knowledge anything that could confine Luffy or the people around him, he does not keep in his brain. When you think about it, you ever thought about that? Whatever could be seen as something that could keep people from being free in any sort of respect, Luffy doesn't retain it. And if it's a person he's fighting, he does everything he can to beat this person so that people don't have that constraint at all. That was the case with Dressrosa, the constraint being Doflamingo. That was the case in Alabasta, the constraint being Crocodile. That was the case in Annie's Lobby, the case being Rob Lucci in CP9. That was the case in Skypiea, the constraint being Enoru. That was the case in Whole Island being Big Mom, but they really just went there to get Sanji and just leave. That was definitely the case in Wano, where the constraints was not only Kaido, but also Orochi as well, but mainly Kaido, because after Orochi died, Kaido was pretty much the big person to take down. Otherwise, you know, that constraint would still be there. Luffy is always dealing with people who are against the whole concept of freedom. That's a running theme when you think about it. Anything or anyone that could keep people from being free when they encounter the Straw Hat crew, Luffy winds up finding some way to break that constraint. However, Luffy doesn't really keep that sort of information in mind. So when Luffy's just like running up on people, he don't have no other thoughts in mind except saying hi to them. Not their previous occupation, not who they're affiliated with, nothing like that. He just says like, hey, they're giants. They seem nice. Let's say hi to them. Not even worried about any potential consequences. He just does. He just does. So while they're screaming out, Gerd and Goldberg almost seem like they hear him, but then they just keep moving as they go, Rodo, are you in there? So they start leaving and they start walking across the bridge. A giant-sized bridge means every step is a pit to avoid. Don't worry, Nami, I used to balance on ropes all the time. I'm good at this. And this is Sanji trying to... Oh, no, wait, I'm wrong. This is actually Chopper saying this. This is Chopper saying this because I remember all the way back during Drum Island, Chopper is knowledgeable about, he knows about running on types of ropes because remember the story back in Drum Island where the story was like, oh, it's the old witch lady and her reindeer monster pet and they're flying through the air and it turns out that they were just using the wire of the gondolas that could go up the mountains in Drum Island. That made it appear like they were flying through the air, that Chopper always ran up and down consistently. Chopper has that experience. I didn't say that during the reaction because that thought didn't come to me until now. I literally just remembered the whole concept of that after I saw that it was Chopper speaking. But they're walking across the bridge. We see giant wolves on the forest floor below because they're already sniffing them out. Giant wolves. Y'all remember what is that movie with Liam Neeson? What is that movie with Liam Neeson where their plane crashes in the woods and they have to deal with wolves that have never had human contact, therefore don't have any fear of humans whatsoever? What was that movie called? I can't remember what that Liam Neeson movie was with the wolves. I can't remember it. Someone will bring it to my recollection. But while they're walking, Zoro pays attention to Luffy and goes, "What's up, Luffy? Can you feel that too? Something's tingling." And Sanji goes, "Well, I'm not going." And Zoro prepares to go, and Sanji goes like, "Then I'll..." "And neither are you. You're not setting foot in any forest in the entire world." Because as soon as Zoro gets somewhere, and you turn around, and you leave him, for about 30 seconds, he's gone. I need some water. Give me a sec. All right, I'm good. Something was caught in my throat, like at the back of my throat. My apologies, everybody. So Luffy jumps off and goes, "It's whoever I heard roaring back in the Block Kingdom, I think." You guys keep going across the bridge. And Luffy just jumps off the bridge.
What are you doing, Luffy?
Be brave, Usopp.
Where are you going? It's all wolves down there!
And so Luffy just goes off on his own. And then we cut back to the giants on their ship as they're making their way to Elbaf.
What does it say? We attacked Egghead?
Yes, that was in the morning paper.
Why would they lie about us? It's too tiny to see.
And then Robin reads out what the news has posted after Egghead ended.
I'll read it for you. The giant pirate crew returns after a century of slumber. With Emperor Straw Hat Luffy, they set the seas around Egghead aflame. The captains of the giant pirate crew, Broggy the Red Ogre, and Dory the Blue Ogre, are each worth a bounty of 1.8 billion berries.
Meaning that their bounties are higher than Zoro's, who has a bounty of 1.111 million. But Dory and Broggy have 1.8. So, wait a minute. Hold on. Let me look this up. Nope, it's okay. I just wanted to make sure I was good. But yeah, their bounty is higher than Zoro's. All right, back to the chapter. Refresh chat here for a second. All right, we're good. Let's keep going.
We have bounties? 1.8 billion. I didn't think we were back in action.
You were each at 100 million back in the day, right? That's a big jump.
Of course, inflation means the current value has changed a lot in 100 years. That seems appropriate for an Elbaf warrior chieftain now. Meanwhile, our captain is the culprit who murdered Vegapunk.
What? Another masterclass in lies and distortions.
So we went from Sabo being framed for the murder of Cobra to now his brother Luffy being framed for the most smartest man in the world. When you think about it, all three brothers have now been in the paper in one way or another. Ace was in the paper because, everyone's seen his face and they had his face in the newspaper due to him being executed for his execution at Marineford. Then Sabo was in the paper with the Gorosei flaming the death of Cobra, which they caused on him. And now we have the newspaper framing the death of Vegapunk on Luffy. So one way or another, these three brothers are always in the newspaper with some sort of turmoil. And Lilith is just laughing at this whole thing.
So he's killed me, did he?
Shut up! You know he was protecting you to the end.
When was this picture taken?
At some point in Egghead, I'm sure. The World Economic Journal has people everywhere. They'll pay good money for photographs.
When Luffy turns into his free form, does this mark appear on his arm?
Does it? He's usually moving around so much I've never gotten a good look.
It seems unnatural to me.
Showing that Vivi has...
His hand is blurred, but the mark is crystal clear.
Strange detail to focus on.
It just seems familiar to me.
And for those of us who have paid attention during the history of One Piece, we know that this is a mark from Vivi. If everything else is just blurred out, but this is strangely crystal clear, it means that Vivi is making her presence known. Because only Vivi would know of the X mark shape on the arm. Because, let's go back in time, this mark was used to differentiate friend from foe when the Straw Hat crew back then, during the Alabasta arc, learned that Bon Clay had the ability to make himself look like other people when he was with Baroque Works. So, to combat this, they all had a tattoo, a temporary tattoo etched on their arm and hidden under a bandage, where only those who have the tattoo would be able to confirm that it's, hey, this is the real Luffy, this is the real Zoro, this is the real Sanji. They would be able to confirm it that way. So Vivi saying this in the newspaper or having this mark means that if they ever get news that Vivi's someplace she isn't, they can just reflect on this and be all like, well, the only way that this could happen is if Vivi is around Morgan's or the World Economic Journal. If she's gone missing, but the mark that only she would know about is suddenly in the paper, then that must mean she's either in the vicinity of where this paper was done or created, and she's safe for the time being if she was able to do this. I know, big hypothesis. Plus the 6 Straw Hats that would know this aren't present for right now. Yeah, everyone who sees this mark, except everyone who sees this mark doesn't really recognize it. And Robin doesn't really remember it right now. She doesn't really remember it because if I remember correctly, she really wasn't in a situation where she was confronted by anyone who had this mark on their arm to begin with. If I remember correctly, all the people that would know what this mark means aren't with them to hear this news. They would instantly be able to tell that it's Vivi, but they're not there to witness it. So I can't wait for them to find this stuff out.
Amazing to think that Straw Hat's considered equals with red hair now. We had this youngster named Harudin in our crew. I hear he's your follower now. He's the son of a king too. You know, was a real tempestuous brat though. He was he? They wanted to come get you too, but in the end it was only us old-timers because of a bit of trouble back in Elbaf. Trouble? Yeah, it happened while the captains were away. You see, in Elbaf, the king had another official child, known as the Accursed Prince. He committed all manner of evil acts and was sentenced to crucifixion a few years back, but nearly escaped his punishment. It took all of our warriors to get him under control.
So this is when we find out that Harudin is in fact one of the princes of Elbaf. What? Harudin is a prince this whole time. You see, when we don't find out everything concerning characters in One Piece and then we get it dropped like this, I'm like, you mean to tell me we had a prince fighting the whole time? It's like this storytelling is so good from Oda. I love it. But
all the giant warriors of Elbaf together? What would his name happen to be?
yeah, he's got a few screws loose. And Robin is kind of quiet, showing what appears to be a bead of sweat on her forehead.
His desperate desire for a legendary devil fruit passed down through the Elbaf royal line led him to kill his father, King Harold, and eat the fruit. The next time that Loki, the accursed prince, is unleashed, the world will be brought to ruin. He is the shame of Elbaf.
And that's when we cut to Luffy walking directly up to Loki himself. And in this image, it shows that Loki, even by giant standards, is absolutely massive. Like we've seen people like Dory and Broggy and the size of them in comparison to like average people. Matter of fact, if I go back to like the previous page where it shows Frankie and company in comparison to the size of Dory and Broggy. No, this seems about accurate. We really, actually, when you think about it, we really don't see the Straw Hat crew next to any giants in comparison to their size. Not too often. Because in this panel with Frankie and everyone else, when you see them on the table, they are very small. Smaller than I originally thought when they were there. So, this size for Loki is actually kind of accurate to your common giant size. But it's just that we really don't get these perspective shots. We really don't get these perspective shots when it comes to judging the size of an average person, like Luffy's size, to that of, I don't know, the size of an average giant's boot. Because Luffy is walking towards Loki, and he's not even close to his foot at all, and yet his foot just towers over him 5 times over. Actually, you know what? No. Even if you stacked Luffy like 5 times, it'd still be shorter than the foot. His boot is 6 times the size of Luffy. Maybe 7. I want to say it's possibly 7. Hold on. 1, 2, 3, 4. I want to say... Hold on, let me judge. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah, about 7 times the size of Luffy, I want to say. But I'm just making that assumption because Luffy is still far away from the actual size of his boot. Like, he's not even really up close to it, so the size comparison, it's vague, and my assumption of his size is, just going off of guessing. But Luffy walks up to this person, big old goatee, just constantly smiling, bandages over his eyes, literally bound and chained to a giant tree, as he goes, "Name yourself." As he can tell that Luffy's there. Dude's got a lot of long hair, some of it braided up around his face, big old giant horned helmet, which a lot of us tends to associate with Loki from like Marvel and different depictions of Loki with his helmet. This is essentially just a big old horn helmet. And Luffy is what, like 5'8", 5'9"? He's not the tallest, but he's definitely isn't short by our standards. No, he isn't. He's actually quite tall. I want to say he's pretty much the same height as I am. Because I think I'm like, 5'7", 5'8". My dad is 6'1", and my head still is taller than his shoulder. So I want to say I want to say I'm about 5'8". I want to say I'm about 5'8". I want to say. Yeah, I want to say I'm about 5'8". I could be wrong, but I think I'm around that same height. So he's about as tall as I am, and this foot is just massive. But Loki speaks. "Name yourself." "I'm Luffy, the man who will be king of the pirates." "King? Where am I? And who are you?"
This is Warland, Elbaf's kingdom of warriors, the most powerful nation in the world, which once lived and breathed warfare. And I am the sun god who brings the world to an end, Loki!
And he just screams this. And mind you, while he's screaming this, it's as if all of Elbaf itself is shaking. As we zoom in from all the way out to sea, we see that the entire kingdom of Elbaf is a giant tree. The biggest tree that I have ever seen. We can make out the castle that Luffy and everyone else was walking from across the bridge, just barely at the bottom. And that's how big that is. The bridge itself is already massive, with the planks reaching like several tens of feet wide. So the distance from the castle all the way up to the upper part of Elbaf would take an average person an exceedingly long period of time to get to. But we see that Elbaf is just this giant mega tree. This is the home of the giants, Elbaf. And we see that it has 2 sections. One section that's at the bottom, which appears to have like the wolves and the creatures in the frozen landscape. And then another part that's at the middle of the tree that has a wide, massive expanse of branches that pretty much make up a portion of Elbaf, where it seems like this is the place where all the giants live. And then we have the top part, which looks so high that it actually touches the clouds. And somehow we have this big, gigantic sword that's embedded near the tree itself, and it's kind of jutting out from the right side, and it makes you wonder, who did this sword belong to if this is the home of the giants, and we see a almost full outside view of it. Whose sword does this belong to if this sword eclipses the size of literally every known living thing that we have ever seen in One Piece? This sword is bigger than the town that's on the second level of Elbaf. Making this is one of, if not the biggest weapon we have seen in One Piece, period. Let's see, I also got a reminder yesterday that DS Drake is like 7 feet tall, which I find weird because he doesn't feel 7 feet tall. It's the way that everyone else is drawn around him. We're so used to the average size being like 5 to 6 feet that when you see all the people that are around DS Drake, you sort of don't really put that into perspective. Because an average looking person in comparison to an abnormally large person, that person suddenly becomes the average human height. But when you get their actual height, you start to realize, no, these jokers are big. All these people are huge. They just look normal size because we just see a ton of people their size all around. But when you read their proper heights and realize that, wow, there are a ton of people who are just this huge across such a large expanse. And I want to say we found more people that are easily breaking the 7 to 8 foot mark on the regular ever since we entered into the new world. Mind you, we've seen plenty of tall people back in Paradise. That's the other side of the world. We've seen plenty of tall people there. But in the new world, there are tons of gigantically tall people that make 6 feet look like 3 feet. And 7 to 8 or even 9 feet is the new standard 6 feet. We just see them so often that we just don't really we don't see it as an abnormal height because it's so commonplace. That's the deal. We see it so often that it is now literally uncommon to see someone of such a small size because everyone else is just big. We see it so many times that we've just gotten used to it. So when you see someone of actual normal height, like my height, or like, say, for instance, my dad's height, that's when you start to really realize, oh, wow, this person was really big. This person was actually really big. But yeah, like 7'6", which always throws me off because I always think he's around the same height as Kid, but he isn't. He's a lot taller. Sorry for the tangent, just something that got reminded of from reading SBS 110. Oh, don't worry, I understand. Don't worry, I understand. But we get Elbaf. Now, mind you, we don't get a full view of like the living area or anything. We can see it in the distance, which looks like a bunch of buildings that start to get larger and larger on the left-hand side of the page. And that appears to be the living quarters. It appears to have like cannons along the edge of this place as well. And it is so large that any water that gets trapped on the branches turn into their own waterfalls. That's how much water can accumulate in these leaves of this entire tree country. It's big enough to create building dwarfing waterfalls. But yeah, height perspectives go crazy in this series. Right, because for instance, when you look at Marco, you would think that he's just, your average height, right? If I pull up Marco and pull up his height, Marco is 6'8". He is almost 7 feet tall. My dad is 6'1". Add on 7 more inches, and that is Marco's height. When you look at Marco, you think he's just average size, normal size. Maybe in the 6'1", 6'2", but no, dude is almost 7 feet tall. Let's get another one. We already know how big the admirals are. They're like 9 to 10 feet. Let's get what's another one that we can do? Let me just pull up Wapple. Just the average height of Wapple. Wapple, literally an inch taller than Marco, 6'9". The heights of people are crazy. 6'9". That's how big Wapple is. Let's see if we can get another one. Let me see. What would be a good one? Sabo. Let's get Sabo. Let's just get Sabo's height. How big is Sabo? 6'2". 6'2". Literally an inch taller than my dad. He is half the age of my dad, and yet he is an inch taller than my dad. You guys have seen my dad before. You've seen pictures. You've seen the shorts that I've done. I don't think I've ever had a photo of my dad where you get the height perspective of how tall he actually is. He's 6'1", and yet Sabo is taller than him. What are they feeding people in this world for them to be this big? 6'2", 22 years old, 6'2", and you don't play no basketball. Okay. Let me get another one. How big was Ace? How big was Ace? Just an inch shorter than Sabo. Just an inch shorter than Sabo. 6'1". Ace is the height of my dad. Sabo is an inch taller. And for Luffy, he's 5'9". He's literally 2 inches shorter than my dad. So yeah, height goes crazy. Height goes crazy in the world of One Piece. But now, since we're here at the end, now I can discuss just a little bit of how these chapters of One Piece in October have gone thus far. And I have to say, they've gone quite well. Very well. Ever since we started the Elbaf arc before this month started, because we technically started the Elbaf arc last month with the final chapter of last month. Going into this, we really started to get into the Elbaf arc, and now we've pretty much been introduced to the land of Elbaf itself. Just a gigantic Yggdrasil. It's basically a world tree, because there is no bigger tree in the world of One Piece than this one. Sure, we got the Hakujuman mangroves. Hold on, let me see if I mangroves. I want to say this name correctly from Sabaody. Sabaody. Yarukimen. Yeah, I said that name wrong. It's not Hakujumen, it's Yarukimen. Yarukimen mangroves. These Yarukimen mangroves make up the entirety of Sabaody. And also, Sabaody is the final island in paradise, close to the red line. The final island before you get into the new world. But these trees here in Sabaody, they might as well just be bushes. The entirety of Sabaody, as massive as it is, might as well be a bush. Might as well be a bush in comparison to the actual size of Elbaf. Because that's just how massive Elbaf is. These chapters have been good, have been so much better since getting out of Rhodes' little dollhouse. Oh yeah, definitely better because this dude's got a... Because this dude's got issues. Sorry, a little message I got to reply to later on. This dude's got massive issues. So we've already found another problematic person in the world of One Piece. Vasco Shot. He's a problematic individual when it comes to women. Shiryu of the Rain, as revealed by Oda, he would be the same. He is confirmed to be the type of person that would use his invisibility to spy on women in the bath. So he's already problematic. Sanji is Sanji, so he's on the list as well. But now we got Road, who shows that he is just as bad due to the fact that he had no problem changing Nami's clothes himself while she was unconscious. So, you know, we're just tallying up the list of people that need to get slapped at least thusly with a very hard and sometimes sharp stick. So he's on a list as well. But the chapters that we got for One Piece in October have been very, very good. I can't believe that we're going to be entering into the second to last month of this year. Can y'all believe that? This year flew on by. This year flew on by. One of these days, also, I got a question. How would y'all feel? I got to think about this. I really do think about it, because the thought I had in mind would be, how would y'all feel about me doing sessions where I talk about years in One Piece? I know I do this month by month, but how would y'all feel about doing a session where I talk about One Piece over the course of a year? Like the things that have happened across One Piece over the course of an entire year. How would y'all feel? Because that's a thought that's come to mind. Like I said, I talk about One Piece from month to month. But how would y'all feel about talking about One Piece as a whole during the course of an entire year? Part of me wants to do that. Part of me wants to do that, but it's entirely up to you guys as well. It's entirely up to you guys. But that's the thought. That's the thought I had in mind. But over the course of October, we had some very good chapters. Just like all the things that happened in One Piece in the year in the year 2024. I want to say, talking about, you know what? Yeah, it's for lack of a better description, yes. For lack of a better description, yes. Talking about One Piece in the entire year of 2024. Now, mind you, it wouldn't be me going through every single chapter that releases in a whole year. We'll just talk about the major things that have happened during the year. Which means I will have to compile a lot of major stuff that happened from all the way from January all the way until like December. And like I said, I probably wouldn't do like a whole big massive reading or recap of everything that's happened throughout every year, but we'll talk about stuff that's happened throughout the year of 2024. That's just something that just came to mind that I would kind of like to do. But I'll leave it up to you guys.
Smash that like button if you want me to do a One Piece yearly review.
That didn't even sound right coming from me. Great. Hiccups now. But yeah, that's just something I kind of felt. But this month for October, getting introduced to just talking about it sounds good. Going through all the chapters feels a bit too much. Yet, I would lose my voice if I tried to go through every single chapter that we got in One Piece. Just a big old gumbo pot of all the major stuff that happened during this year, such as the Gorosei and Im-sama. Like, I would have to actually, you know what? Let me just look at the chapter list and see what we got from January. And it wouldn't be too long because all the chapters that we got in the year at the beginning would be chapter 1103, which is I'm Sorry Daddy, where we get a flashback of Bonnie talking to Vegapunk, Saturn holding up Bonnie so she can be killed, Bonnie trying to use her powers, but it won't work, and it ending with Kuma essentially coming in and taking the brunt of the attack meant for Bonnie, saving her, and then preparing to deliver one of the greatest punches in the history of One Piece. That's how we started this year. Kuma preparing to punch a Gorosei in the face. That's how we started this year. We started this year on fire. But yeah, this will probably be something I do another time. Have I seen the new SBS 110? I have not. Ooh, joy! Someone has... Nice! Someone has an entire thread. Awesome! Someone has an entire thread of SBS 110 info thread. Okay, I don't see one yet, so I'll create it myself. We'll keep it updated. Thanks to Pew from Twitter. You can check it out early there. I will take time to not steal engagement. Respectful of this person. SBS starts now. I'll do it in order. Reader, thank you for the hard work, Sensei. Sometimes don't you just want to shout and refresh your mood, right? What do you want to shout? A. The SBS starts now. B. You just said it. C. I want to wear panties on my head for a change of pace. Oda! This is my chance, so I get to choose among these these choices, right? All right, give me a 5-minute head start. I'll go straight to the words I want to shout. Ready? Start. Dash, 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 dash. My feet got sprained. Falter, falter. Down. I want to wear panties on my head for a change of pace. I'm pretty sure he didn't want to choose that one. First question. This is bad. A large insect just appeared. I'll roll it up and use it to smack it down. So please give these manuscript papers you just wrote. Give those manuscript papers you just wrote. This is bad. Yes, please smack it quickly. That was close. Really, that insect clearly got smacked by the manuscript. Now let's just blot this out quickly, and there you have it. Imu-sama is here. Second question. Oda-sensei, about Yamato who ate a devil fruit because of hunger, what did the child Yamato's beast form and human beast form look like? And Oda drew out the images of what Yamato would look like in his beast form when he was a child. Mind you, this is before Yamato decided to call himself Odin and see himself as a dude due to his massive admiration for Odin. We get this look of young Yamato when he was, basically a kid and ate that fruit back then. It was like a little cutesy version of the Okuchi no Makami all the way back then. Third question. The long arm tribe has 2 elbows in 1 arm, right? Does each of those elbows have their own terms? Wow, this is a wonderful question. I'm very moved. Yes, of course they have their own terms. The elbow closer to the hand is called the friend elbow. The elbow that's closer to the shoulder is called the love elbow. This seems to represent the emotional distance between you and your significant other. They actually have anatomical names for the elbows in their arms. Fourth question. In chapter 1103, Luffy was so hungry and couldn't move, but in chapter 1106, he became full. Who was it that gave Luffy food? Oda. In chapter 1103, Luffy started to wolf down food. When Luffy said food, who was it that responded? Was it Sanji or Frankie who was present near him? Kizaru and Sentomaru were also there. Whoever did it never got exposed, it seems. That action seems to be done at the... Whoever did it never got exposed, it seems. That action seems to be done at the speed of light. That even the naked eye can't see it. Even I don't know who did it. The speed of light. Is Oda straight up saying that it was Kizaru who gave him food? Was people's theories correct? Is this Oda saying that Kizaru helped Luffy? Are you for real? Are you saying that Kizaru helped him out? What? Okay. Fifth question. Reader, I really love the sword members, so I want to know their age and profile. Does Drake belong to the same class year as Kujaku in Prince Grus? Oda, It's difficult to point out what exactly you want to know about their profile. This heavily implies that. This heavily implies that. Oh, this is going to keep people... This is going to make people who made this theory that it was Kizaru who helped Luffy during that moment, this is going to reinforce their theory even more by Oda saying, like, even I don't know who it is. The speed of light, So, this is gonna reinforce people's theories that it was Kizaru who helped them. It's difficult to point out what exactly you want to know about their profile is, but I can give out their ages and heights as such. For more detailed information, it's written on the Viva card, One Piece Visual Dictionary. I won't say something mean as I want you to buy those, so I won't write it here on the SBS, but physically speaking, the information written there is much better. Don't get me wrong, since you've asked for it, I will answer. Here you go. So Drake, former Rear Admiral, age 33, height of 233 centimeters. Rear Admiral Kujaku, age 26, height of 180 centimeters. Rear Admiral Prince Gruss, age 29, height of 205 centimeters. Captain Kobe, age 18, height of 167 centimeters. Commander Hibari, age 17, height of 165 centimeters. And Lieutenant Commander Helmeppo, age 22, with a height of 179 centimeters. Although Kujaku and Gruss is a junior of Drake, but their relationship is already like the same class. Also, I've been asked many times if Gruss is a prince from what country, but actually he wasn't. He's just a rich person. So he's not even a prince. He just calls himself rich. They just call him rich because he's rich. They call him rich because he's rich. They call him prince because he's rich. Don't worry, I caught myself. Sixth question. What will happen to Jinbei after 20 to 40 years? Jinbei is 46 years old right now, so let's see what he will be like in his 60s and 80s. Top, good future, and it shows Jinbei in a good future where, you know, he gains a bigger goatee, and there's more stripes in his hair, and he gains like a little bit of a ring beard around, and then at age 80, all of his hair is pretty much turned white, but he's still laughing and he's jovial, and he has a big old mustache that's kind of reminiscent of Tom when you think about it. And let me see, that's good enough. That's enough. Don't go after them. We're all equals. Age 80, you've grown so much. And then below that is a bad future. This is a future where Jinbei behaved more like Arlong. So at age 60, his hair is like really messy and he's wearing spikes and he's got a dark mustache and it's pointed and his beard is scraggly and also kind of pointy as well. And then at age 80, all of his hair is white and he's just as mean and surly as ever. Teeth all pointed and spiky. He has none of the calm looks that he has then. Beard has gotten even bigger and unkept. He just looks like Hody Jones, if Hody Jones didn't lose any muscle mass after eating those energy steroids. And the quotes from Bad Future Jinbei is, I will kill all humans, and at that age 60, and at age 80, I will drag you down to the seafloor. Seventh question. Reader, I've been counting certain words that Oda used in the SBS from Volume 4 up to Volume 106. Here's the result. Oh, just counting nasty stuff. Disgusting. Why would you put that in there? No. Let's see. 8th question. Here's a postcard from a kid. The age is not written. Is it from a middle schooler? Well, then please ask your question. Hello, Oda Sensei. In chapter 1045 of Volume 03, Luffy used a technique called Gum Gum no Giant, Gigant. Yo, what's going on? Let's see. Oh, Sakaruga. Hey Kyushu, this has been a great year for games, manga, and One Piece. Love your channel, your energy. You excited for Elbaf? Incredibly so! I am incredibly excited for Elbaf. You know me. I cannot wait to read these chapters for all of you guys. Thank you for all the support. I really do mean it. I wouldn't be able to do what I do here on YouTube without people like you. And I just want to say how much I appreciate you guys every single time you show up. So going back to these SBS questions, let's see. But how did his clothes and even sandals got gigantic too? Listen well, Yumakun, name of the sender. If Luffy's clothes get ripped off when he gigantifies... so this is the reason why Oda makes it so that clothes stretch and transform with the user, so that, you know, this isn't a series that needs to have the age rating boosted up because of, you know, exposure of skin, or too much overexposure of skin, if you will. Ninth question. The suits, reader, the suits that the five elders are always wearing, are they high-branded designer clothes? Is there a shop in Marijois that specifically caters to them? Please tell us about the cloth designer, too. His name is Nyornyo Nyornyo. Nyornyo. Nyarmani. Oh, it's a play on Giorgio Armani. Also, Nya is for meow sound in Japanese. A designer clothes specialist who hails from the Nagagutsu leather boots kingdom in East Blue. Only the five elders are allowed to wear his special clothes. So this dude designs clothes in the leather boots kingdom in the East Blue, specifically for the elders, which means that he probably had an extra client when Garling came through to get his suit done. 10th question. Oda-sensei, Heso! All among the 9 vice admirals that went to Egghead, there's one that looks similar to Rear Admiral Kadar, who appeared in the Fishman Island Pass flashback. Did he get promoted? Also, please tell us the profiles of the other vice admirals as well. Oda, you're referring to Hound, right? It's true that he looks like Kadar, but they are different persons. Please forgive me for the rough sketches, but with the exception of Vice Admiral Doberman, who was introduced in the past, here are the profiles of the other 8 vice admirals. Vice Admiral Pomsky. He ate the Rako no Mi, the otter fruit, as I surmise, and became a sea otter human. He strikes a powerful attack with a seashell. 2. Vice Admiral Dahl, martial artist with a rock and roll soul. Vice Admiral Tosa, he can bite with his hands. Earth T fist style user. To TL note, Tosaken Earth T fist is a play on Tosaken Tosa dog breed. Tosa is a Japanese fighting dog breed that Tosa's name is most likely based on. Which follows the canine naming themes of some vice admirals. Yeah, when you think about it, there's a bunch of vice admirals who are just named after dogs, like Dalmatian, Doberman, and now Tosa. There's a lot of them. I'm so glad we got more info on the other vice admirals. Yes, let's keep going. We're not done yet. Vice Admiral Urbane. He ate the Sutsu no Mi, the cannon fruit, and became an artillery human. The top of his head can become a cannon. Really? Rock and Roll Soul, you think she was a fan of the Soul King's music? I wouldn't be surprised. Hold on, let me pull up Vice Admiral Urban. What? Oh, dude, the dude that's got the abnormally long hair and the spiky teeth, his head can turn into a cannon? His hair goes all the way down to his ankles. But the top of his head can turn into a cannon? Oh, there it is. It's right there. Oh. Wow, this was all the way back in January when this happened. Hold on. Okay, where... Hold on, I'm trying to find the panel where he's actually turning towards Bonnie in order to aim his head at her. He is aiming his head at her. Hold on, which chapter was this? Chapter 1095. Hold on, which chapter was this? That was all the way back in 1095? Wow, this was before this year. Never mind. I'm not gonna go back that far. Okay, so the dude can turn his entire top of his head into a cannon. I'm assuming he can make any part of his body a cannon, but I'm assuming he prefers to do it with the top of his head. Possibly. Maybe it has to do with the aesthetics of his hat, because his hat is shaped like the tip of a cannon as well. Let's see. Vice Admiral Bluegrass. She ate the Nori Nori no Mi, ride fruit, and became a piloting human. She can turn any living thing or object within her hockey range into her vehicles. That's interesting. We have never heard the concept of the range of a person's devil fruit is dependent on their hockey range. We've never heard of that before. She can turn any living thing or object within her hockey range into her vehicles. So if they're in range of her hockey, of the extent of where she can extend her hockey out to, she can take control of that person, living thing or object. Interesting. She's like an older sister to Great Staff Officer Sudu, because, you know, Bluegrass is old. She old. Matter of fact, let me go down here. Let me see if I can find... There's Tosa. Let me find Bluegrass. Let me go to Vice Admirals. Bluegrass, right there. How old is she? Well, pretty much over 76. She's got to be well over 76. Okay, yeah, she old. Yeah, she old, though. Alright, that's Bluegrass. Vice Admiral Hound. He ate the Inu Inu no Mi model Hound. He's on the same class year with Smoker. Okay. Vice Admiral Red King. He punches with his steam engine powered right knuckle. Doesn't give any more description of why this dude has septuple chins. Also, I misread it as first as the cannon fruit, which if he had that, that's a whole different conversation. Oh no, this is cannon with two N's. Well, with an extra N, not canon as in canon event. It is, you know, canon. Let's see. Vice Admiral Guillotine. The blade on his head can be thrown like a boomerang. Wait, what? Where's Guillotine? Does he have a blade on his head? Dude has an actual blade just sitting in his head. Is it just... Is he... Is that... Does it have like a guard where he could just take it off and throw it? That's not in his head. Okay, so it is. Oddly shaped bladed ornament over his head, not in his head. Okay. I got concerned it was one of those dwarves from the Hobbit movies that had like the axe in his skull. Okay, so that's Guillotine. 11th and final question. Odachi, Garachu, tell us the former... Tell us the former occupations of Fujitora and Ryokugyu before they became Marine Admirals. Ooh, and there's a photo! Yo! Fujitora with his eyes before he saw the horrors of the world. Oh my goodness. I never thought I would see a young kid Fujitora. I never thought I would see young Fujitora. These Vice Admirals could be Mega Man bosses. He does in fact have a blade on his head. I meant in his head, like it's not embedded in his skull like Shiki style, is it? But it says it's an ornament on his head. If you say it's on, then that means that it's something he wears and he can throw it like a boomerang. So, yeah, there's that. Zakaruga, you say these Vice Admirals could be Mega Man bosses. If you've ever played Grand Blue Fantasy Relink, I really think the One Piece world could do with a game like that. Oh my goodness. A One Piece game done like Grand Blue Fantasy Relink would be amazing. It would be fantastic. I would love it if they actually did something like that. But let me get back to this. All right, just as they became the ones in charge for the defense of affiliated nations to the world government, through the system called World Military Draft, these two were handpicked by the Marines. Ryokugyu Adamaki hails from the South Blue. He was a police officer for the Taya Kingdom and caused a great incident involving a woman and got thrown into prison. Great, Adamaki's problematic too. His reputation of possessing extraordinary strength reached the government. He got drafted into the Marines and immediately got a special promotion to Admiral. He got drafted and immediately got promoted to Admiral. How do you go from being from being drafted into the Marines to instantly going to Admiral because that you are so strong that the moment you get drafted, you're automatically an Admiral? I have never heard of that. Fujitora. Isho incurred losses in a gambling place on Twin Snake Island located in the West Blue and was working there as a bodyguard when the world government bought him with a large sum of money. Isho was a defense military chief in the Aoi Blue Kingdom that once existed. That once existed in the Grand Line, and the world government was aware of the fact that he was a major war criminal due to the circumstance of Aoi Kingdom being destroyed in the war. And that's the end of the SBS. Bruh, Adamaki was a police officer? But he went to jail because he went to jail because he was messing with a woman. And because he's just that strong, he got drafted and immediately promoted to Admiral because he just that busted. And then Fujitora basically got bought. He got bought into being drafted into the Marines. He literally got paid to join. But I believe that after being with the world government for a hot minute, that's during that time when he basically blinded himself because of all the evil he kept saying. Wow. That's interesting. Hold on. Remember when Smoker was the first awesome vice admiral? Now everyone can apply and be one. I mean, you can apply. You can apply, but that doesn't necessarily mean you'll automatically get promoted to admiral. That I've never heard of that. You get drafted and you're an admiral because you're just that strong. Kind of reminds me of how Aldrich of the Deep was like a Lord of Cinder, not because of his intelligence or his royalty, but just because he was that strong of an individual. Just straight off of might. So this is another one of those situations. Yo, dude, that's a great idea. I love Grand Blue Fantasy Relink, and One Piece has the characters for it. Me and my buddy Gajil, we talk about it all the time. A One Piece game done like Grand Blue Fantasy Relink would possibly be better than even the One Piece Pyro Warrior games. And the One Piece Pyro Warrior games are some of my most favorite games to play. Especially Pyro Warriors 3 and 4. Especially 4 because you get a playable Roger. But One Piece done like Grand Blue Fantasy Relink would be mind-blowing. And I dare say that Grand Blue Fantasy Relink, and I'm going off on a game tangent here, Grand Blue Fantasy Relink is in fact a fantastic blueprint for a lot of anime games to pattern off of. Because so many games would work with it. Think about it. My Hero Academia could work with it. You could say that the missions that you do are just hero assignments and jobs that you got to do with a hero. Imagine playing All Might. Playing All Might in a game like a My Hero Academia game done like Relink. Or you unlock villains like Shigaraki and All for One. Imagine playing them doing missions, horde missions, defense missions, all sorts of different missions. Can you imagine? the characters and animations and level of quality that Granblue Fantasy Relink got, but you do it for My Hero Academia or Jujutsu Kaisen. Imagine a playable Gojo that way. Imagine a playable Yuji or Sukuna or even Toji. Imagine that. It would work. Conversation for another time, because I could go on a whole tangent here. We need to be back on One Piece. Love Pirate Warriors 4, one of my favorites. It's mine as well. I remember I covered that game for years. Like, one of my most highest viewed videos is... No, that's Pirate Warriors 3. Never mind. Playing all those characters, it's literally the power fantasy. It's games like One Piece Pirate Warriors 4 that makes me want more anime games to go that route. If you're not gonna do an RPG like Granblue, at least make it a Muso game like One Piece. No disrespect to Jujutsu Curse Clash, but that ain't it. No disrespect to Fairy Tail and its turn-based combat, but that style ain't it. It would work so well with a Muso, because not every anime needs to be turned into a turn-based game. Sure, that works for Pokemon and Persona and Metaphor Refantasio, but you're kind of limiting your games when you do it like that. Dragon Ball is the exception. It is meant to be a fighter where you're dusting people. It's meant to be that way. But like I said, conversation for another time. I could go on all day. But overall, this has been an absolutely phenomenal month of One Piece. We only got 2 more months of this year left before we can say goodbye to the year of 2024, which gave us the rest of the Gorosei and their creature states, which gave us the most powerful display of Conqueror's Haki in known existence, which gave us Im-sama ripping the life and immortality off of a member of the elders, which literally gave us the death of an elder. This year gave us the death of one of the most powerful individuals, both politically, social standing-wise, and power-wise. It literally just gave one of their deaths this year. And someone has already taken that person's place, with it being Figureland Garling as the new godhead of science and defense. So that's already a matter going forward. Now, and on top of that, we are already in the full swing of going to Elbaf, one of the most awaited locations in all of One Piece for us to visit, due to how often we have heard people talk about Elbaf and never saw even a semblance of it until this year. I want to say until this year. I think it was actually, ow, I bit my tongue. I think it was last year when we got Shanks versus Kid, and we got introduced to the location called Warland, which showed the locations of Elbaf, and we got to see just how beautiful it was. The imagery from the anime showing Elbaf and its sweeping landscapes, its snow-tipped peaks, its crystal clear water, just everything about it. And now we are finally here, in the land of the giants, the land of warriors. And now we're here. Not only that, but apparently we're also getting introduced to Loki, one of the princes of Elbaf. We got Shanks versus Kid like early 2023. I thought so as well. My prediction, the God Knights versus the Straw Hats in Elbaf. The God Knights are not concerned with the Straw Hats in Elbaf because the God Knights would be dispatched to deal with the Revolutionaries. Because the Revolutionaries is a threat to the Celestial Dragons more than the Straw Hats are. The Straw Hats are off doing their own thing that's got nothing to do with Marie Joie. However, the God's Knights would more than likely deal with the Revolutionaries due to the Revolutionaries directly attacking the Holy Land itself. So I don't honestly see the God Knights going after the Straw Hat crew, because it's the Revolutionaries that declare war on them. I almost bit my tongue again. It's the Revolutionaries that declared war on them. So they'd be more concerned with dealing with the Revolutionaries. But that's just my opinion. Chapter 1079 was like in March, I think. Hold on. Let's go back to the chapter list, because I can go back pretty far. Yeah, March 26th. This actually dropped on my dad's birthday. Yep. Yep, this is the moment where Shanks just bodied Kid. Shanks bodied Kid and his entire crew in one go, and then Dorian Braga used Hakuku's sovereignty. And they destroyed the ship of the Victoria Punk and basically utterly destroyed. Basically just completely destroyed Kid and his entire crew in one go. So yeah, this was on my dad's birthday last year. Elbaf is Warland Battle Island. We are going to get an action-heavy arc. I feel it. I feel like, sure, we'll get an action-heavy arc because we're getting introduced to a character called Loki, where it's been described if he ever was set free, he could bring the world to ruin. Being a massive Kid fan has a few benefits, though a lot of downsides, and especially one glaring downside that pretty much has him incapacitated for the foreseeable future. But with Loki and the thought of if he gets free, then he'll bring the entire world to ruin. Not to mention he ate a legendary devil fruit that's passed down through the family line, which means that Harudean may have been the one who was supposed to get that fruit. He was probably the one that was supposed to get that fruit, but Loki took it, killed his father for it, took it for himself, and that probably explains why Harudean went to Dressrosa to get his hands on the Flare fruit, so he could be able to fight his brother Loki. You guys mentioned that earlier. This isn't my own thought that came up. This is literally you guys came up with this when we were reading this chapter when Loki was first introduced. So there will be fighting. There will be fighting. This is the land of warriors where literally this is the land where Dorian Bragi come from, where they just spent the past 100 years fighting each other. There will be fighting. There will be fighting in the most battle-hardened location in all the world, where the entire culture of everyone is to be strong. I can't wait to learn about the history of Elbaf. And I also feel like us being in Elbaf is also going to have one of the most emotional interactions that we may ever see in One Piece for quite a while. The reuniting of Jaguar D. Saul and Nico Robin. I feel like out of every chapter we've had, I think one of the most emotional chapters we had was when Shaka was talking to Robin, telling her that Saul is still alive, and then she was just tearing up, hearing that the very person that helped save her life is still living and breathing. But I feel like Elbaf may have one of the most emotional chapters, where if we get a Saul and Robin reunion, gonna make a grown man cry. Not me though, but because it takes a lot. But I feel like it's gonna be an incredibly emotional chapter should that interaction take place. Also, if we ever get to the location where the research of Ohara has been stored, pack it up. Pack it up. If we ever get to the library, the place where Vegapunk memorized every bit of knowledge that the Ohara scholars kept, all the information that he went on a big speech about and broadcasted all around the world, if Robin gets there, if she gets there and she just starts reading, we are gonna learn so much. We are gonna learn so much. Because the scary thing about Ohara is that they knew a ton of stuff. What Vegapunk got was just information that the Ohara scholars surmised, hypothesized, theorized, and, memorized. It's the moment where we get to that place that has all of their books, all of their informations, All of their information, I feel, is going to be some of the most important lore that we get in One Piece, due to just how big of a threat them even having that knowledge was to the world government, to the point where they decided, we need to kill every person and raise their entire island to the ground so that the world can never know what they know. However, they failed in this respect due to the Ohara scholars clearly being smarter than the world government, and the world government not being thorough. So if we ever get to this library where they have all of this information in, I honestly feel this could be some of the most important information we ever get, period. Elbaf is more Norse mythology, like Loki and Thor. It's not Greek mythology. That's different, right, I think? Yes, it is. Norse mythology deals with Odin, Thor, Heimdall, Balder, the Fenris Wolf, the Nine Realms, Svartalfheim, Niflheim, Muspelheim, Helheim, all those different places, whereas the Greek world deals with, like, the underworld, and Zeus, and Hercules, and Hades, and Poseidon, and Persephone, and Hera, and you know, it deals with that. Those mythologies are definitely they're different. They're different. So if you want to know the difference between the different mythologies, think of the first half of God of War, and separate that, the first half of God of War, from God of War 1 all the way to God of War 3, that's Greek. From God of War 2018 to God of War Ragnarok, that's Norse. There's your distinction right there. If you can't remember that distinction, then just remember the Greek side is the first 3 God of War games, and the Norse side is the 2018 and onwards. God of War 2018 and Ragnarok. That's Norse. So if you want, like, a good way to remember that, that's a good way to do it. But yes, Norse mythology is the area that we're entering in right now. Now I'm just wondering, what type of devil fruit would be considered legendary? And this may end up being, because if I remember correctly, San Juan Wolf can't be considered a giant, is he? I want to make sure I say so here. No, he is a giant. He is a giant. So San Juan Wolf is essentially the first giant we see with the devil fruit in One Piece. However, Loki is the only person in the series that has a devil fruit that's considered legendary. Best example, just started God of War. That's why I asked. Thanks for the help, bro. No problem, no problem. I tend to do a lot of analogies with different animes and video games to help people out sometimes, and it tends to work a lot of the time as well. So yeah, I was confused. Oh, it's all good. God of War 1 to 3, Greek. God of War 2018 to Ragnarok, Norse. There you go. But no other devil fruit in One Piece is described as legendary. No other one. Not even the fruit that Kaido got. Not even the fish fruit. That's not even regarded as legendary. Whatever fruit Loki got is considered legendary in and of itself. So now I'm just wondering, what type of power is it? And it has to be an incredibly powerful one if these giants are speaking to Loki as if he gets free, then it's going to bring the entire world to ruin. So it makes you wonder. But we're just going to have to find out the next time we get a One Piece chapter. Now, mind you, someone said that we're supposed to be getting One Piece next week. But here it says we don't get a chapter until 10 days from now. Remember, we're on a 2-week break. So while we were on break, while we went on break on October 20th, we are still on this break. We're on a 2-week break. So next week on the 3rd is not when we get a new chapter. It's going to be on the 10th when we get one. So that's when the chapters will come back. So yeah. But yeah, these have been the chapters of One Piece in the month of October. And I think I said everything that I wanted to say. We're already approaching. It's gonna be a 2-hour session by the time I finish saying what I gotta say. But This has been a very good month for One Piece. It's been a very good month. We found out so much. Learned that Road is a giant that we all want to beat up if we ever get the chance, because he's a problem. But we are also now in Elbaf, and it is vastly larger than I could have ever imagined. They are literally living on Yggdrasil. I would not be surprised if they call this tree that they live on Yggdrasil. I wouldn't be surprised at all. But I also can't wait to see just what giant life is like in the main part of Elbaf. We've only seen giant life on the outskirts, like in the different villages, and this is mainly based off of Big Mom's flashback, but I can't wait to see just how the rest of the nation lives. How they operate in this world. Does anyone even venture outside of the country save for the new giant pirates that Harudin is over, or the crew of Dorian Bragi? Do they know of what's going on outside there in the world? Because they don't make papers big for giants, because they don't make trees that big for giants presently. So they can only get as much information as they can from people who have newspapers and tells it to them. So who knows what the culture is like for Elbaf in the thick of it, into the thick of it? Who knows what it's like? Because we only got like a small little semblance of knowledge of what Elbaf life is like due to Big Mom's flashback many years ago. So I can't wait to see what life is like in Elbaf. And then once we are done finding out what life is like, we get to see the narrative go forward. Because this is going to be yet another situation where we're now here in a brand new nation. And I know that we are just started this arc. But now we're still flying blind. We are flying blind once again. It wasn't until they said, like, okay, the next place we need to go to is Elbaf. Okay, we were flying blind then, not knowing where the story was going to take us, not knowing where we are going to go. When we found out that the next place we got to go is Elbaf, awesome. Simply amazing. But now that we're here at Elbaf, it's anyone's guess where we go next. And we haven't even fully gotten into the full swing of this arc yet. So ain't that scary? We have absolutely no idea where the story could take us when this arc reaches its end. Where do we go to next after the land of the giants? But that's a conversation we'll have later down the line. I won't bring it up again. This will be the only time I bring it up. I won't bring it up until it is time for the arc to be over. And I expect you all to keep me to that. I probably won't bring this up again, but I'm just putting the thought out there. Elbaf has a strong introduction being inside a Lego diorama, and now going outside, you realize how big Elbaf is. Yeah, you then realize that the castle that you saw on the outside that looks absolutely big, it might as well be a Lego castle in comparison to the rest of the country. We literally went from a what is that Russian doll called? Russian doll. Matryoshka. Yeah, Matryoshka dolls. So you go from inside of this diorama that is surrounded by Legos. Then you leave it to find a bigger castle. Then you leave the castle to find that it is literally a minuscule in comparison to the rest of the country. It's just a matryoshka of sizes. Diorama, castle, nation. That's just how vast it is. It's like, this is how big the castle is. This is how big the tree that encompasses the entire country is. And mind you, this is a castle where a giant stays at, and this is a very big castle. This is the castle. This is the tree. But yes, this is a hard arc to make a prediction because of all the info Egghead gave us. It's like, what the heck is Elbaf going to give us? I know what Russian doll you're talking about. Good analogy. But yeah. We have no idea where to go. And I feel it is in everyone's best interest not to try and assume where the story is going to go, because even after these chapters we still know nothing. We still know nothing. We still know nothing at all. That's what makes it so good, though, because what Oda is about to tell us and show us, oh my goodness, I cannot wait. I can't wait. But yes, and I did say we were going to hit 2 hours after this. I think I said everything that I wanted to say. Overall, I am massively excited. I'm massively excited for the Elbaf arc as it goes into full swing, and not only finding out what's going on Elbaf, but if we ever cut to other parts of the world while the Straw Hats are in Elbaf. You was watching Alicia's fan letter reaction yesterday. I know, wasn't it wholesome? Wasn't it wholesome? That One Piece fan letter episode was amazing. But here's another thing. We are now dealing with a world where the world government has suffered not one catastrophic loss, but another catastrophic loss. The first biggest embarrassment to the world government was when Fujitora bowed in front of everyone and apologized for them not being able to do their jobs. This was a massive failure on the part of the world government that they did their absolute best to try and hide, because they were going to fabricate a story and hide everything that went down on Dressrosa. Fujitora said, like, I'm sorry that we failed to do our duties. Saw the comment you left there too? You know. But that's one big, massive failure from the world government. Now, the second biggest failure that they could have ever faced has slipped through their fingers. They failed to take out Bonnie, who has the highest authority over even the elders themselves, over every pacifista in the world. Not counting the Seraphim, because that's completely different. But Jewelry Bonnie now has the highest authority over all pacifistas across the entire world. They lost Vegapunk. They could not bring down Luffy. They failed to stop him. And in the process, they lost Jay Garcia Saturn to Im-sama's rage, and Figureland Garling went to replace him. All the while, their very efforts to stop the Straw Hat crew from escaping, along with the Giants, was met with a complete and total, utter failure. The biggest buster call in the history of the world government that we know of, and they failed to take out, they also failed to take out the very individuals that they were sent there to take down, save for Vegapunk. And even then, they still haven't kept Vegapunk down because his personalities reside in Punk Records, with Lilith still being very much alive. This is one of the biggest failures in the world of for the world government. How they respond is what I feel is going to be a thing to watch out for. Question for you, Kyushu. Why did Oda pick Zoro, Luffy, Sanji, Chopper, Usopp, and Nami? Why these guys specifically? The ones who deal with Alabasta and CP9. Do you think Oda did this separation for a reason? I guess there's a reason for it, and not just for the Vivi stuff. I feel like every single one of them had a trait that allowed them to fight on par or even against another individual with their present skills at the time. So you get Luffy, who's always going up against an individual who's the strongest at the end. And Luffy, while he could get worked on the first encounter, he comes back stronger than ever with a way to combat this person. Such as the case with him fighting Crocodile the first time. He literally got drained of life, and he saved his own life when he was fighting Crocodile. Yeah, I know for sure, but there has to be a reason why he picked those three specifically, the three strongest and the three weakest, to show that the three weakest aren't as weak as we all think they are. Because think about it. Every situation where we have Nami, Usopp, and Chopper fighting a foe, sure, they're terrified, but there needs to bring down this foe that could very well impact the livelihood of their crew, is what causes them to go that extra mile to actually bring that person down. Usopp, one of the biggest cowards I have ever seen in this entire series. However, when the going gets tough, Usopp, Nami, and Chopper have shown that they do in fact have the resolve to face the foes that they're going up against, despite their cowardice. This is Oda showing that Chopper, Nami, and Usopp aren't just there to provide emotional support. they do indeed have their moments where they are capable of facing down a foe that, for a lot of the time, tends to be physically superior to them in every way. So the way I see it, Oda pits the 3 strongest against the biggest foes and the 3 weakest against their foes, simply to make sure that the 3 weakest don't always stay weak. Because there have been times when Nami, Chopper, and Usopp have been in situations where they don't really have a lot of confidence in themselves, as far as like in comparison to like many foes that have greater strength than they do. But Oda does put them in situations where the foes that they're facing are vastly superior to them in power, and yet they still face down this individual despite how much it terrifies them. It wasn't always like this in the beginning, because Oda has shown that they are slowly but surely starting to become more sure of their own capabilities. In the past, Nami would have been terrified of trying to electrocute someone like Big Mom, but she brings down a lightning bolt on her regardless, knowing full well that she's an emperor. You cannot be a coward and decide to throw hands with an emperor. Then you have Usopp, who was doubting himself being able to take down Pudding. And that's when his observation haki activated in Dressrosa. And he had to be absolutely sure that he did this right. Otherwise, the risk of him forgetting everything he's ever done with Luffy and the Straw Hat crew would just go up in smoke in an instant. Life or death can really prove whether or not an individual has what it takes to continue going. This is a life or death situation. You either put up or shut up. Who did I say? Did I say Sugar? Who did I say? Did I say Pudding? Sorry, I meant to say Sugar. I'm sorry. When he was gonna take out Sugar in Dressrosa, not Pudding. Gave myself hiccups again. But yeah, I meant to say Sugar in Dressrosa. Oda, I feel, does this because if he didn't, then, you know, they really wouldn't have any moments to grow. The more fights he puts Usopp, Nami, and Chopper in, I feel the more used to it they're getting. Mind you, they still get terrified. But I want to say they're starting to get used to being put in these situations. Because I know they call Luffy, Sanji, and Zoro the Monster Trio, and they call Usopp, Nami, and Chopper the Coward Trio. But I want to feel like they are not as cowardly as they used to be in the past. They are actually starting to become far more confident in their capabilities, where it's no longer just like, Sanji, save me, or whatever. It's like, sure, they still have these moments, but it's not as often as it used to be in the past when they weren't sure of themselves. That's true, bro. Maybe Elbaf's might not be the character development arc for Usopp, but for Chopper and Nami as well. That's what I'm thinking. Usopp has always wanted to go to Elbaf because this could be the biggest motivator for him to embrace being a great warrior of the sea by coming home to the warrior country of the world. One of the home of his masters, Dorian Bragi, who he reveres so much. So this could very well be the arc for Usopp to actually improve in terms of his own confidence and bravery. But we'll see. We'll see. A lot of us was hoping that Frankie would get upgrades during the Egghead arc, and dude didn't get jack. So we'll just see how the chapters go before I make that fully commit to that assumption. I don't know if this is a hot take, but I found Usopp annoying at times during Wano. Not all of Wano, just at times. Let's be specific here. You mean the times when Usopp was inside Onigashima, when he was running around from everyone and he was trying to survive. He did a lot of whining during the raid on Onigashima. A lot of whining. So I can understand, because Usopp can definitely get annoying where he's all the thing of like, why do you want to keep fighting? Why not just die? Why are you putting so much, why are you working so hard? Then one moment where Usopp was saying like, why don't you just give up? Like, he really did show his cowardice when he was talking to, I think it was either Kiku or Kinemon. I think it was both Kiku and Kinemon when Usopp was standing there terrified and still trying to defend them from the ongoing Beast Pirates. But I feel like he did that out of reluctance and not him actually trying to be brave. But, you know, it was annoying for him to see people have that resolve and he didn't have that. So he just found like, your samurai are so annoying. But he was also kind of annoying during that entire arc as well. So I know exactly what you're talking about. But yeah, let's just see how this arc goes. I really hope I would love to find out what type of devil fruit that Loki has. A giant with a legendary... Because the thing is, with San Juan Wolf, he just has a devil fruit that allows him to increase his size. That's it. That's it. Can't call that legendary. That's literally you just changing your size. However, with Loki, being told that it took all the warriors of Elbaf to bring him down and to crucify him on the tree that pretty much encompasses the entire country? How strong is this guy? For all the warriors of your country to be needed to bring him down. How strong is he? So I can't wait to find that out. Can't wait to find that out. But we'll find out once the chapter gets to it. I think I've said everything that I wanted to say today. I think I have. Ladies and gentlemen, this has been a great talk. I love discussing One Piece with all of you. It's been nothing short of a joy. But this is where I have to bow out gracefully and bid you all adieu this day. It's time for me to, just kick back and relax. Get some water and rest my voice because I've been talking for like 2 hours and 15 minutes straight. It's time for me to rest my voice a little bit. But you've been wonderful. Thank you for being here with me. If you made it here to the end, I just wanted to say thank you overall. All I can say to all of you is Elbaf is going to be awesome. I just know this Elbaf arc is going to be, I feel like it's going to be even greater. If not just as good as the Egghead arc. But I feel like it's probably going to be greater than that. I honestly feel like it's going to be greater than that. But we'll see. We'll see. But I'm done. Hope you all enjoyed. Can't wait to see you all in my next video. Like, comment, and subscribe if you haven't already, because I am always looking forward to entertaining you. So have a fantastic day, and once again, as always, later, peoples!